Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jolera interview series. I'm your host, Paulo Delmibledo, the Chief Channel Business for Jolera. This interview series features prominent executives and influencers from the IT industry talking about technology innovation, the as-a-service market, leadership, and the overall marketplace. Returning to the show is Chris Black, the Chief Revenue Officer for Jolera. Chris is going to become a regular contributor to the show. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you very much, Paulo. Glad to be back.
So, Chris, we're going to talk about some current issues that are happening in the marketplace here. And one of the more serious ones that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown is the Great Resignation trend, easy for me to say. What can the IT industry in general do to keep good people from heading out the door?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. I think one that's really relevant for businesses, whether they're in the channel or outside of the channel right now. The Great Resignation, as we've sort of seen it unfold, I think, actually I was just talking about this at lunch with a couple of our colleagues. The Great Resignation is something that I think is widely misunderstood and or being interpreted in many different ways. So, I'll give you the Chris opinion of it.
Sure.
I think COVID really gave people a reality check when it comes to their employment, their jobs, and their situations. I think it gave them a taste of the good life, working from home, having more flexibility, not having to be stuck in traffic. There was a lot of positives that came from that. There's something to be said about being able to sit at home and have breakfast with your kids or drive them to school and, to gain an hour back on the bookends of a day. I think the Great Resignation is really a testament to the evolving human condition and what workers are looking for to find, that value and that pace within their own lives and their career. And how can you find that work-life balance? What can organizations do? Get close to your employees, understand what makes them tick. That single employee who lives downtown, who enjoys the nights on the town and gets a lot of value from social interactions in the office. That's one situation. The person who lives in suburbia that also has a family that wants to spend more time with that family and less time on the road, and you're going to be able to understand and help with their happiness and thus hopefully see better outcomes and returns on your investment within that individual. You have to understand who they are, what makes them tick, and find programs that will work for both of them. I think flexibility is going to be key depending on your business, but also clarity. You may have to turn over parts of your staff based on the fact that, certain individuals are not going to want to come into an office. And if you feel that for your business to run, you need to have them in the office, you're going to have to part ways and you're going to have to find a way to be very honest when you're hiring and very honest with the staff that you have. So I think the Great Resignation is something that is multi-generational. I think it's going to impact old guys like me. I think it's going to impact the young people that are out there and just beginning their careers. And we're really going to have to understand people's values and situations more than ever before. So get close to your staff, understand your team, and make decisions for the betterment of your business with people at the center of it.
So yesterday, you and I, we spoke to a key executive, one of the top channel partners in this country, if not the world. And he was also talking about, how the office environment is and describing sort of like the new workspaces, the new workflows and everything else like that. And he made a really good point that, productivity levels have either remained the same or increased. And the bottom line also has either stayed the same or increased. So do you feel that with this trend still ongoing, will there ever be any pushback from corporations to get their people back in the office? Because let's face it, a lot of these buildings are very, very expensive to maintain and in-house.
I would separate out, I don't think it's as much about the buildings per se. There's always going to be costs within a business. And as business changes, the costs that we previously had to spend versus the costs that we're going to spend in the future, that stuff's going to change. And the way that we use office buildings may change and evolve with that. I want to take nothing away from our distinguished friend that was in here the other day, but I'll call a little bit of BS on what he was saying. I think he was speaking to their circumstance within their business and their experience. That's a manufacturing company where I guarantee you the people on the manufacturing side of the business, not on the sales and channel side of the business, would tell you that having people in the office, in the engineering teams, and in the plants are absolutely important. So in his part of the business that he has optics for, people don't need to be there because their productivity is high and everything's going well. For other parts of the business, that might not be the case. So I think for businesses, it's really important that they take a look at their entire business and rationalize some of these impacts based on their actual business themselves. I mean, we've seen, look at Silicon Valley. You've seen Microsoft, you've seen Google, you've seen Apple calling people back to work because they're seeing productivity loss.
Right.
And they're able to equate that back based on the amount of software, the amount of code that's being written, the amount of outcomes that are being experienced. Right. Every business will be different. The makeup of teams will be different. The quality of the leadership, the quality of the processes. This is when real good business leaders will show their value to organizations, because good business leaders will start at the people, process, and technology level. And if they don't have that right chemistry, they're going to pull things in or push things out based on the chemistry that exists at that time. And every business is going to take a different approach. So again, my recommendation to this is take your time, evaluate the full situation, understand who your people are, what makes your business tick, which functions can operate remotely and which ones can't, and then ultimately what builds culture within your organization, and then find that delicate balance.
I want to ask you about cryptocurrency, because I know off camera we've discussed this a lot. And I find you a little bit of an expert on this. So, but just simply, do you see cryptocurrency playing a more prominent role in the IT economy in the next 6 to 18 months?
I honestly wish people would stop calling it cryptocurrency. And I think cryptocurrency would be like calling the internet the World Wide Web. So if you looked at the World Wide Web in the early to mid 90s, there was all the prognosticators and the experts and the dummies that sat on TV and shot down this new technology they didn't understand and had put no time into understanding. But they came to a conclusion because people are fearful of things they don't understand, and they love to fight new exciting stuff. For whatever reason, we have a sick fascination with trying to push against technology. The same thing happened with iPhone. Same thing happens with many technology advancements. Cryptocurrency may or may not exist. We don't know. Crypto tokens based on blockchain and the economics of technology scale that can be gained through the blockchain will absolutely exist, and they permeate our society already. There's elements of it that are already out there. I don't know what the exact statistics are, but I think it's something like 18% of people in the United States own Bitcoin, which is one singular set of tokens with some distinct purpose and some potential future use cases. But that's 18% of 300 million people in the United States own this.
Right.
Why do they own it? Because they see value in it.
I was just going to say, there's obviously an inherent value in these tokens.
Absolutely. So when you look at things like Ethereum, you look at Cardano, and there's a litany of them, what they're in right now is the mode called discovery. And it's very much like the early internet. For anybody who's an old fogey like me and remembers the early internet, it was not known how we were going to use the internet. Online banking wasn't a thing. People were horrified of it. But we figured out how to create it, add value, bring governance to it, and create an experience that made it better for the average person to be able to operate with their banking institutions. That discovery mode brought us social media, that brought us our cell phones and our iPhones that have cameras and all of these integrated products. The internet absolutely changed the world. Blockchain in its own way is going to change the world, and whether that's through things like NFTs and rights to creative goods, or whether that's through a cryptocurrency, a digital form of currency in which people can exchange value with each other, or the 100 other ways we haven't identified and that are going to come out that we don't know yet are going to bring value to our worlds. I think the blockchain is here to stay. One thing I would say, if anybody doubts what the blockchain's value is, go to any major college or university and look at the statistics coming out of MIT, Stanford, McGill, any of them. The best software engineers are going into crypto. And the reason they're going into crypto is because it's exciting. It's the next stage. It's where they want to be. And when you throw that much talent at potential problem-solving solutions, you're going to get outcomes, just like we did with the internet.
And I guess the next generation has already accepted that, and then they're going to be in charge, and there you go.
Well, I mean, there'll be the digital, we look at it, and it's about being digitally native. And I came from, and you and I aren't that far apart in age. We came from a time where we weren't digitally native, but we're digitally aware and engaged.
Right.
Our kids are digitally native. They grew up with it and they're going through it. This will be the same thing with the blockchain and with crypto. You know, everybody uses MP3s right now. I'll bet you 90% of people watching this video couldn't tell you what an MP3 is. But an MP3 came from that early discovery stage of the internet where they took music from CDs and they put them on a computer, digitized them, compressed the format, and there's an MP3. Did the MP3 turn into the technology that changed the world? No, but it was a foundational technology that became streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music. That's the evolution of technology. What we see as cryptocurrency right now is going to go through that same type of run. The end value, we don't know what that is. It could be something that's painfully obvious and right in front of us. It will be some things that blow our minds, like deregulated finance and being able to buy a home without ever having to deal with a real estate broker or a bank. That stuff is coming. The market will be tested out. Tons of companies won't survive, but the ones that do are going to change the world.
Fantastic, Chris. Thank you very much again. Chris is going to become a regular contributor to the Jolera interview series. You can follow him on LinkedIn. And thank you very much for watching. That's it for me, Paul Dillingvettel, for the Jolera interview series. Until next time, so long.